Hi there, in this video clip I want to talk about atmospheric pollution. Atmospheric pollution is caused when fossil fuels such as oil, natural gas and coal are burned. When these fossils by the way, were formed millions of years ago when animals, vegetation, anything green died, and under temperature and pressure, etc., it caused or made fossil fuels. Here's a fossil fuel, let's call it F. When it's burnt, it produces energy, it produces heat, etc. However, it also, when it's burnt, it produces gases and vapours. The fossil fuel is not a pure substance, and when it's burned, it will also put particles or particulate matter into the atmosphere. In simple terms, maybe soot. Let's look at these gases next. These gases, when you burn fossil fuels, the fossil fuel also contains impurities. These impurities, such as nitrogen and sulfur. It doesn't all burn off, and also carbon. I know that most of the products of oil, for example, we know the gases, they burn and they form carbon dioxide and water. So when you burn these fossil fuels, it contains nitrogen and sulfur and carbon. The nitrogen will react with oxygen to form nitric, or let's call them nitrogen oxides. I'm going to call them NOx. Sulfur forms SOx, and carbon forms COX. I've put X in there because X can be a different number. For example, sulfur combines with oxygen to form sulfur dioxide, which will react with more oxygen to form sulfur trioxide 3. Nitrogen reacts with oxygen to form, I'm going to call this example NOx, where that could be, for example, 1, 2, 3 or 4, nitric oxide, NO, nitrous oxide, laughing gas, NO2, nitrogen dioxide, N2O4, dinitrogen tetroxide, and good old carbon with oxygen forms carbon monoxide, MON1, and dioxide, carbon dioxide. Let's look at the first case of sulfur dioxide and sulfur trioxide. When you burn all of these fossil fuels, one of the other products is water. And if you've got sulfur dioxide or sulfur trioxide, they combine with the steam and form sulfuric acid and sulfurous acid. It's like, and they also combine with the water in the atmosphere to form acid rain. So the sulfur dioxide and sulfur trioxide is pouring out of your tower, and at the same time you've got steam, and the steam reacts with the sulfur dye or sulfur trioxide to form acid rain. So acid rain, if falls on plants, causes them not to grow or to die. The acid rain gets on your buildings, you know, these old buildings, they get big doses of the acid rain and it causes them to crumble. Let's look at the nitrogen. Nitrogen, I've said it forms oxide, NO, N2O, N2O4, and there's several more nitrogen oxides which pollute the atmosphere. These are bad for your health. And another source is there's your car. I know it doesn't look like a car, and there's hot exhaust coming out of there. You know, it's hot. The atmosphere contains approximately 4/5 nitrogen, 80% nitrogen, 20% oxygen. So the nitrogen in the atmosphere, the nitrogen, the 20%, 1/5, reacts with the elevated temperature of your exhaust gases, water, etc., and turns some of the nitrogen in the air to nitric oxides, a source of pollution. I've said in a previous video clip that I burn these fuels and they produce energy, and they also produce carbon dioxide and water. So if I took a hydrocarbon and it completely burns in oxygen, here's any old hydrocarbon, methane, I burn it, it produces carbon dioxide and water. But imagine if it's not completely burned, it doesn't produce CO, it produces carbon monoxide, which is a dangerous gas. Why? If you cut yourself, you see that stuff coming out, it's blood, it's hemoglobin, it's red, and that carries the oxygen around your body. It's like a train, and if you breathe in carbon monoxide, it jumps on that train, and instead of carrying hemoglobin, the carbon monoxide reacts with your blood to form carboxyhemoglobin, which prevents oxygen being carried around your body, which effectively means you get the postcard from God, you're dead. This pollution is made further complicated by you burn these fuels, they don't completely burn, and being released into the atmosphere, you see these smokes, you know, they can be shades of black and grey, the black extremely full of carbon, grey not so much carbon, and white hardly any, but they still contain particulate matter, particles of carbon. Is that good? Well, it's bad for your breathing, etc. That is basically all what I want to say about atmospheric pollution. So I've just recap. Atmospheric pollution is caused by the burning and incomplete burning of fossil fuels. natural gas, coal, and Texas tea, black gold, oil.